Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, coin lovers all over the world. I'm Cris Bierrenbach. Next to me, Sam Spiegel, and we're going to be discussing the coin markets, what's happened in the past few months, and what we think the near and the long future looks like.
So, so we actually did a state of the market exactly 4 months ago. I was looking yesterday, November 1st was the last time we did this. And a lot's changed since then in the past 4 months. So we thought it was time to do another one to catch up on how 2022 ended, how 2023 started, and what we see on the horizon for the rest of the year. So we have a few notes, a few things to cover that we'd like to get through. But of course, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat and Tommy can put it up on the screen and we can address that as you send them in. So before getting into specifics, I think it'd be helpful to take a high-level look at how 2022 ended. So, we talked about this quite a bit last year, and we definitely included it in our marketing materials. But in 2021, we realized over $131 million at auction of World and Ancient coins, which I'm pretty confident is the most ever by any firm anywhere in the world for World and Ancient coins at auction. And in 2022, we realized just over 100 million. It was 101, I think, or 100.5. At first, that seems like a bit of a step backwards. But if you control for Paramount, the Paramount collection that we sold in March of 2021, which was a once-in-a-lifetime collection, our 2021 numbers were about 90 million, and then we grew to 100 million. So, without factoring in that once-in-a-lifetime or once-in-a-millennia collection, I considered us having quite a bit of growth in 2022, which I was really happy to see. It was also not just in terms of the overall turnover, but the number of lots handled, which I think speaks to sort of the continued strength of the market. So in 2021, we handled about 43,000 lots, and in 2022, it was just under 53,000. So an extra 10,000 lots passing through our hands. And we certainly scaled up to meet that demand and have hired a lot of additional staff and are able to turn things around much more quickly. And we'll get into this a little more later, but we added some more venues to our auction calendar. And so that was actually where we saw a lot of our growth in 2022 was in our showcase venue. You want to talk about the showcase?
Sure. I'll make a quick comment about 21. Obviously, 21 was a record year across many categories for us, and it's some correction we've gone through some correction in 22, and it's nice to see that we're able to keep up with demand and create capacity to serve our consigners. And one way that we've been doing, it's like one thing we've been really been able to do to service our consigners is create these new venues that are oftentimes tailor-made to these collections that we work with. So we have there's several showcase what used to be called monthlies, but essentially they function exactly like a signature auction. They're up online for 3 to 4 weeks with full images from the grading services, population reports, comparable prices and results from similar coins, all of the above. So as a viewer and as a bidder, it looks exactly like our signature and platinum night auctions, or 95% the same. And in addition to these single owner collections that we can handle, it's been really interesting the past 12 months, Sam, has been the what we call now the spotlight auctions, which we'll cover, which are thematic auctions targeted specifically to, say, collectors of Mexican coins or French coins or English colonies or Byzantine coins or any specific narrower part of the market. And we can sort of target that audience by having these dedicated sales much better than having, the targeting that we have to do when it's a broader sale like signature auctions that we cover from A to Z. So this is a growth sector for us, and it makes the whole consignment and auction process for our clients a sort of a faster, more efficient process in that sense, where we can complete it faster too.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the spotlight auctions that Cris mentioned a little later on, but generally speaking, the showcase auctions have been very successful. In 2022, we had 27 different showcase auctions, which nearly doubled the number we've had in prior years. And it's where we saw much of our growth from 21 to 22. So, for example, in both 2020 and 2021, we sold about $4 million a year in that showcase, or at the time, what was called the monthly auction. But in 2022, that venue realized over $11 million spread out over those 27 auctions. And this year, we will absolutely surpass that number, both in terms of the number of showcase auctions and the overall turnover. And we've gotten fantastic feedback from both consigners and buyers on those showcase auctions. Honestly, for all the single owner showcase auctions that we've had, I can't recall a single consignor who was disappointed with the results, which is sort of, the best mark of success, I think, that we could look to. Just because, as Cris was saying, our signature auctions and our weekly select auctions, those are great. They're, there's a wide variety of material there, but the traditional model that's always been the case in the market for us and for firms all over the world is you have an auction and you put whatever you have in that auction. And then what we've been trying to do with these showcase auctions is to make them more thematic. So, most collectors don't collect anything and everything. They specialize in a certain area, like Mexican coins or British Commonwealth or Byzantine or Judean or whatever it might be. And so if we can take all of that material and put it in one specialized venue, it sort of creates critical mass for collectors to come out and bid on those 300 lots rather than just the 25 Mexican coins that might be in the middle of a signature auction or something like that.
Yeah, and with the capabilities that we have for data mining and explore our audience of bidders that we have, that we can target that audience very specifically. We can pull out Mexican coin collectors or Brazilian coin collectors or Byzantine coin collectors and send specific emails and announcements about these auctions, and we've seen the action take off on them. The activities just I watch these things pretty obsessively, and the action is pretty impressive, and it creates, I think, a better experience for collectors and consigners. So we're looking forward to doing many of these, and if anybody watching that have if you have a collection that think might be a good showcase auction, you can email us. What's the best email to send world coins?
Yeah, worldcoins@ha.com.
Yeah.
But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm sure what a lot of people want to know is sort of changes in the market and what's going up, what's going down, how much is it up, how much is it down, all of that good stuff. And broadly speaking, compared to where the market was a year ago, the way I've described it to clients is that I don't see the market quite as frothy as it was, a year or two ago, but still overall strong. Where I'm seeing the market come down is common coins. And I wouldn't say that they're coming down so much as they're just coming back to reality.
Yeah.
And we'll get to some examples in a moment. But at the peak of the pandemic, in late 2021, early 2022, prices were just going nuts. And I think outpacing sort of where they should be for how relatively common some coins were. So when I was preparing my notes for this presentation, I decided to take a look at one coin we sell pretty much every week, which is an Alexander the Great dram in NGC Choice XF. This is, in my mind, a relatively common coin. There's different mints and minor varieties and stuff like that, but the vast majority of the time, it's worth the same as any other NGC Choice XF. Maybe it's a little better centered, it's worth a little more, a little less, but it's sort of a good baseline, I think. So, Tommy, can you pull up the first link that I had sent you? Yeah, perfect. So I know this is very unscientific and the sample size isn't big enough to draw a convincing conclusion, but I think it is helpful to illustrate the point I want to make. And I would wager that if you expand this study to other coins and look at more results, you'd see that same trend line. So what I looked at is 4 different weeks of auctions over the course of 4 years. This is weekly auction 08, the 8th auction of the week. So the first result you have there is from 2020. So 23/20/08, this mid-February auction. And you can see in that sale, we had 4 NGC Choice XF coins for Alexander the Great drams. And pretty consistently, they sold for $222 each. Some sold half an increment more, half an increment less, but solidly $222. Then if you go a year later, 1 year into the pandemic, can you pull up that next list? Yeah, perfect. You can see those 4 results, those same NGC Choice XF coins, essentially the same, sold for an average price of $556. So, it more than doubled for this relatively common coin in the course of a year. And then can you go to the third one, Tommy? Great. Then this is 2022, where you can see that same coin type realized about $390 each. So less than it was in 2021, more than it was in 2020. And then finally, 2023, this was just a week or two ago, you can see those 2 coins, average price was $324. So a little bit less than where it was a year ago, but still higher than 2020. And again, this is very unscientific, but I think that if you were to extrapolate this to Victoria sovereigns or French 20 francs or, German 20 marks or any sort of common coin that sort of has a good bellwether for the market, you'd see the same sort of trend where prices are not as crazy high as they were in 2021, but they're still strong, especially relative to the pre-pandemic pricing. And I would argue that maybe they should never have gotten as high as they did in 2021. It was, at the time,
speculative.
Yeah, it was very speculative. I think a lot of people who had many years of experience in the market knew that those prices weren't sustainable. And
there was collecting mania going on
in
across
all categories,
fields,
not just coins. You saw this in trading cards, video games, comic books, sports cards.
But at the same time that we see this, what we call product, this depreciation or correction to, normal levels, it seems to me that at the top, the coins that are great type coins and great quality, the corrections are much smaller than that. I think maybe 5 to 10% is what we've noticed, maybe on average. And Sam, I think you have some examples of that as well.
Right, exactly. So those common coins like the Alexander dram or whatever it may be shot up and then came back down quite a bit in just a year or two span of time. But for those really high grade coins, genuinely rare pieces, they're still selling for very strong prices and are just in general 5 or 10% off their all-time highs. So Tommy, can you pull up that 1937 5-pound, the next link that I sent you? So this is another really good bellwether for the market. This is a always popular coin. It's a rare coin, but not so rare that it's not accessible. So we sold this in January, just less than 2 months ago, a 66 Ultra Cameo for $48,000. So can you scroll down to the previous prices grid? Yeah, just stop there for a second. It'll take a second to load up. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So we sold the 66 Ultra Cameo in January for $48,000. And you can see that the type reached an all-time high in this grade in 2020, 2021, where there's a couple of results for $55,000. Yeah, you can see the 3rd and 4th results down, August 2020, August 2021. A 66 Ultra Cameo in each of those sold for about $55,000. And so you can see it took a dip in 2022. We had a 66 star cameo sell for 43,000, 66 cameo 31,000. So the type took a dip in 2022, but now it's back up, close to where it was in its all-time high. So for a 66 Ultra Cameo, about 10% off those record prices for the type in this grade. And then looking outside of just Great Britain, I know we talk a lot about British coins because we sell a lot of British coins. I think I was, as an aside, I was looking at the numbers a couple of weeks ago, and I think we sold last year about $20 million worth of British coins, something like that, on par with, any of the largest, the top British coin companies, and maybe more in terms of specifically British coins, but that's another conversation. Can you pull up the other link that I sent you, Tommy? Yeah, so this is a Czech 10 ducat. So another sort of very popular 20th century type coin. It's a rare coin, not so rare that you don't have, enough data points to really study it. So this sold for 36,000 in a 64 in January. And so can you scroll down to that previous prices grid again? Perfect. So you can see that a 65 a year ago sold for 39,000. So a 64 sold for, one or two increments less, just $3,000 or $4,000 less than a 65 did a year ago. The last time we did a state of the market video in November, one of the big themes that we talked about was, taking a step back from the, just looking at a 6-month or 1-year timeline and sort of look at the market over 5 or 10 or 20 years, because you'll see a much clearer trend line in terms of prices. And this is a perfect example of that here. So back in 2018, this coin was selling for under 20,000. You can see a result there from August 2018, 19,200 for a 64. And then if you look even further back in 2014 and 15, MS65s were selling for just under 10,000, so $8,800, $9,000 or so for a 65. Then you step up back even further, back in 2009, you'll see that it was a $5,000 coin in MS65 condition. Now a 65 is easily worth 40,000 or so for the type. So in the span of less than 15 years, it's, appreciated quite a bit in value. But if you sort of look at it just in the span of a year or so, it doesn't look like it's changed all that much. So that's why, especially with world and ancient coins, it's really important to have a much longer time horizon.
So one thing that we get asked often is about Chinese coins and our auctions there in Hong Kong, which we have one coming up in June. The Chinese market being much more volatile than, the fully developed markets, saw this sharp increase in activity and in shelf values for coins during the particularly in 2021. The sort of followed crypto markets in a way. I think a lot of people that were in that area diverted some capital into collectibles and drove up the prices, and obviously those buyers are now out of the market. But essentially, what we've seen with Chinese coins is that they've had perhaps the greatest correction that we've seen, and then it seems like some other parts of the market have rebounded. I just read a report yesterday. They had a series of auctions in London and in Hong Kong, and the commentary of the article was that the Chinese buyers were back. So I think there's increased activity at the moment, but we certainly went from, let's say, the last 12 months through a significant correction. Again, high-end type coins and high quality have seen the least amount of corrections, whereas what we call product or things that are more common type coins, we have some examples Sam will give, we've seen a greater correction. So
Yeah. So a good bellwether for this market, I think, and I keep using that word, it's sort of a coin that we see in our auctions at least once or twice a year, I think is the 1929 auto dollar.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, this is a fantastic type coin.
Very popular type, sure.
Very popular in the Chinese market, but even as a world type coin, a lot of collectors outside of China would want this coin as a representative of the Chinese series. So can you pull up the next result I sent you, Tommy? Great. So this is a nicely toned XF45 auto dollar that we sold for $33,600 in our December Hong Kong auction, which was a fair price at the time. But can you go to the next link that I sent you, Tommy? If you look at the previous prices grid, yeah, great. So this will show the previous prices, not just in XF45, but for all grades. You can see that this auto dollar peaked in December 2021, where we sold two VF35s for $66,000 and $72,000. Which, I mean, you probably remember when this coin was a few $1,000s.
Oh yeah, I mean, a VF coin like that 10 maybe 15 years ago would have been a $2,500 to $5,000 coin.
Right. So that market, there's a clear peak for that coin where it's a lower grade example than what we sold in December, where it was selling for double or more at the time. But if you scroll down to December 2018, Tommy, you'll see that an AU50 sold for just $27,600. So the market is still, yeah, there it is, $27,600 for an AU50. So an XF45 still selling for more than what a higher grade example was selling for, 4 years ago. So I think you can still see a clear trend in the market going up. But as Chris was saying earlier, there was this notable correction last year. So
can we see more results? Can we scroll?
Yeah, can you go back to the last link that you just had up?
Let's scroll down a little further to see if we have some so there you go. You can stop there.
Yeah, an XF40 sold for just under $10,000 in December 2016.
And you see price ranges, in the $5,000 to $7,000, not going back that long to 2016. And probably if you could go back further, I mean, we have anybody, that is signed up with us can go on the website and look at these results of basically any world and ancient coin will have comparables. I mean, you can see that this is not a particularly rare coin. It's a very popular coin that we see a sharp increase in demand in recent years. So it's a great marker of the market, I suppose, to make this report, I guess.
Right. And then another result that I pulled from the December auction, I don't want to ignore the modern Chinese coin market, which is, probably the most robust market for modern coins anywhere in the world. Where they're not selling for at their all-time highs, but still genuinely rare modern issues are still selling for a big premium. So can you pull up the next result, lot 34156? Yeah. This is a very rare brass panda from 1985, where we had a 68 Ultra Cameo sell for $36,000. And I think that's a very strong result. And if you scroll down to the previous prices grid, you'll see that this was the highest result ever for this type that we had sold. And I think maybe anywhere in the market as well, based on the research I was doing yesterday. It might be a world record for the type. But you can see in July 2022, we sold a 67 for $26,000. Now a 68 selling for $10,000 more. That seems like a good sort of premium for a 1-point difference,
sure.
Especially for such a rare coin. So yeah, the Chinese market, I'm very optimistic for where it is right now. It seems like it's sort of trending upwards. And what I'm really excited about is I think we'll be able to head back to Hong Kong in June of this year for our June event. The last time we actually had an in-person event in Hong Kong was December 2019. And then everything's been shut down for 3 years. but we're the plan is to have the coin show and the auction in June, as we did back in 2019 and for many years prior to that. And I think that's going to give a little boost to the market as well. The fact that people can be in the room, conduct business in person, see the material in person. I think that just sort of creates a bit an energy that is ultimately going to help the market sort of, push to the next level.
For sure. Yeah. We'll talk about images a little.
Yeah. We got a few questions about images on our website, our images, NGC, PCGS's images. And I think it's worth pointing out some changes we've made in that regard. So just to make it clear so everyone's on the same page, all world coins submitted to PCGS get PCGS TrueView images. And NGC takes PhotoVision images of, I think, all express or higher tiers. We have also worked out a deal with NGC so that all of our submissions to NGC get PhotoVision at no added charge to the clients. That's something that we absorb ourselves because we think it adds that much value and is that much better of an experience for our clients. And so that's why you're seeing more and more of those images popping up in our auctions at all levels. So not just Platinum Night or Platinum Session, as we're calling it now, but our select auctions. You'll have a $150, $200 coin with these high quality images, which, a few years ago, it didn't make sense for us to do because it just cost us so much more to do those images internally. But we've essentially outsourced it to PCGS and NGC, and the fact that they can take images of the coins raw before they're in the holder, and we'll see a few examples, ultimately creates a much, much better, more natural product.
Yeah, and a lot of the images that we use, and we hear from clients and from folks all the time about this, is that a lot of it comes down to a matter of preference too.
Yeah.
Some people like it to be, for the coins to have more contrast. Some people less. Some people prefer to see the coin in a holder and zoom in. Some people prefer this, that we have beauty shots. So what we've been doing is essentially providing as many of these images as we can to the audience and let them look at them all and decide which ones are more relevant and, give them a better view of the coin itself and help them make better bidding decisions.
Right. So every lot that we sell is going to get the standard slab image, this sort of one size fits all. There's a few different settings that we use, but just the image of the slab, which presents the coin in as neutral of a light as possible. And then whenever possible at any level, if we have the NGC or PCGS images, we will pull those in. Yeah. And then for Platinum Session, we take images ourselves for the coins, for the ones that go in the catalog. So there's sort of a consistent look to those. And then for the signature auctions, even though we don't put photos of those coins in the catalog anymore, we will still take our own sort of high quality beauty shots.
For sure.
If we don't have the NGC or PCGS images available.
So most of our lots now have 3 sets of images, or a good number of our lots, where you have one of the slab, one of the grading services, and one perhaps of our own, and that gives as much information, let's say relevant information about the image of the coin as anyone can.
Right. So. And actually, not just those 3 images. Sometimes there's a 4th set for the higher value coins. Yeah, the 300. Oh, the coin videos.
The one that are like the 360.
Yeah, the
special effects. Yeah, right. That's a good point.
So for a long time, PCGS TrueView images were the gold standard. Like those were by far the best. And no offense to our friends at NGC, but up until recently, the quality of their PhotoVision just didn't match PCGS's. And I think they recognize that because they put a lot of effort into revamping and rebranding that to PhotoVision Plus, which they came out with, I think, middle of last year or so. And they solicited feedback from us, and we told them sort of what we wanted, what our clients wanted. And now I'd say they're on par with one another, PCGS and
That's
NGC.
great.
So I pulled a few examples from auction 3106 to sort of show the images and sort of the benefit that using these grading service images gets. So here, great. So this is a PCGS proof florin, 1893, really high grade. So what you have there are the TrueView images provided by PCGS, which, you know, you can see the sort of the depth of the color and the richness to it, which is great. And, you know, we can replicate that ourselves pretty closely, but the fact that we have to shoot through the plastic when we get the coin severely limits our ability to really capture the coin. What we also have, though, are the second set of images, the ones in the slab. So this is just present the coin in a neutral light, show you what's on the holder. You can see that there is some color there, but it doesn't convey the richness that you see in person, which I think the TrueView images do show the sort of full extent of the toning. NGC, on the other hand, has come a long way. And a really good example of the progress they've made is with ancient coins. I think that's where it's most notable. So can you pull up the next link that I sent you, Tommy? Yeah, this is an example of the old style of NGC's images. And, you know, this is a nice coin. This is Choice AU Star. It's got great eye appeal in theory, but I think you agree, Chris, that
it looks a little dark.
It's hard to make out any details there. And this is the way they were doing it for a long time. And you can see there's a, you know, black and white difference between this. And then if you go to the next link that I sent you, this is once it loads, you'll see it's a very similar coin, same type, Theodosius solidus. But this is the new style, the PhotoVision Plus images that NGC is doing now. And you can see it's night and day. Like you can actually see some depth to the coin. You can see the details.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great image. And again, we can replicate that closely ourselves. But the fact that NGC can image them raw is just
it's
so much more
especially with
helpful.
ancient coins. They have so much, you know, the relief on them is so significant oftentimes, and it's more challenging to sort of, you know, shine the light throughout the fields and not have shadows like before. So this is obviously an amazing improvement, and it gives the bidders much better sense of what the coin actually looks like.
Right. So, and actually the relief is a good point. So if you go to the next set that I sent you, Tommy, this is something from 3105, our platinum session auction. So a very nice mint state Alexander the Great stater. So the first set of images are the ones that we take. And because of the shooting through the plastic, we're limited in sort of how much we can convey there. So if you click the second set of images, though, these are the PhotoVision images. You can see that there's much less kind of shadows that we have to control for. You can really see the depth and the relief of the coin. And you know, I think the fact that we can provide all three of those images gives people that much more confidence to bid. And I think the improvements that NGC and PCGS have made in this regard is going to just continue to move the market in sight unseen bidding, right?
Sure.
They can rely on these images without having to go and see the coin in person.
Yeah, and add it to the opinion of the grader, of the
Right.
grading services, and of course, the guarantees that these companies provide, which obviously are tremendous value to everyone, to us and our clients.
And so specifically on ancient coins, one of the big arguments against slabbing, especially in the ancient coin market, but I think it applies to, you know, world coins as well, is that you can't see them well enough through the slabs. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from, you know, clients, our good friends who have said you can't see the coins, you know, it's too difficult to see them through the plastic, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the improvements made by NGC is a big step forward in standardizing third-party grading for all coins, but especially ancient coins. I've gotten a lot of compliments from regular consigners with the new images that we're using or that NGC is using, that, you know, it looks great. They have far less concerns about sending it into NGC because it's clearly a value added service.
For sure.
You know, it's going to present the coins in a much, in the best, you know, light possible, no pun intended.
Yeah.
So yeah, should we move on to the spotlight auctions?
Yes, for sure. Our favorite
Yeah.
topic of recent times.
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier that we saw much of our growth in 2022 in our single owner and thematic showcase auctions. And we love this venue, and clearly our clients do as well. And we've been leaning into that by starting what we're branding as spotlight auctions, which are thematic multi-consigner auctions. We started something similar last year with our modern coin showcase auctions and our spring and autumn Hong Kong showcase auctions. And then we had a tokens and metals auction last fall, and I think have had a couple of Brazilian showcase auctions. But now we're sort of full steam ahead on that when it's clear that this is what our clients want, this is what the market wants, and we're expanding it to other areas. So the first auction that's branded as a spotlight auction is actually now open for bidding, focusing on Mexico. So if you can pull up that link, yeah, great. So this is about 300 lots of Mexican coins in this auction of all price ranges, ranging from 5,000 plus to $100 or $200. Typically, when a consignment comes in, we will split it up based on the value and sort of the most appropriate venue. The higher value material would go to platinum or the signature auction, lower value to the select auction. But with this venue now, we just we directed a lot of the Mexican coins we got on consignment to this specific auction because, as a collector, you don't necessarily just focus on, Mexican coins over a certain price threshold. Like I know from my own collecting pursuits, like I have a narrow focus to my collection and I will buy, what fits it, whether it's $300 or more. And I think that's the way a lot of people approach collecting as well. So I fully anticipate that there's going to be a lot of excitement from the Mexican coin collecting community for this auction and from the other specific communities with the other spotlight auctions we have coming up, like for France and French colonies, British Commonwealth, Brazil. The first ancients one is going to be Judean coins, which we're really excited about. So yeah, and I guess I should mention, if you have ideas for other spotlight auctions that we can add, feel free to email us at worldcoins@ha.com, especially if you have a consignment that we can use as an anchor to build one around. But looking more broadly at showcase auctions, it seems clear that not only does it spread the auctions out more evenly throughout the year and gives people a reason to keep coming back every week, but they actually can generate higher results. So a few weeks ago, for example, we had a showcase auction of the Abbeygate collection of British metals. And without much effort, I was just looking at some of the top results and looking at recent comparables. And, every single one from that auction was higher than recent comps within the past year. So I pulled up a couple of examples. So Tommy, can you go to the first one? Yeah. So this is a nice medal, a coronation medal for Edward VII that we sold for $9,000.66. And I think it'll show in the previous prices grid if you scroll down on this web page. Just give it a second to load. If not, I think I sent you a link of the other one. Yeah, there you go. So that first result, you can see we had a 67 sell in January for $6,000. And so it's pretty remarkable that you'll have a lower grade example sell for more in the span of just a month. Or no, actually that one was from 2021, my mistake. That was 2 years ago. Go to the other link that I sent you, Tommy, the next one. Yeah, this is the one I was looking for, 67 plus. So we had a 67 plus sell for $9,000 in the January signature auction. And in the Abbeygate showcase auction of British metals, we had a 66 sell for $9,000. So I was, pleasantly surprised, I think you could say, that, this showcase auction was realizing higher results than the signature, because I'm sure you get this as well from clients. There's an idea that a lot of people have that the signature auction is where the best results are.
Yeah. And it's clear that having this narrow focus where everybody can be is sort of dedicated to that specific event, it seems to be a more effective way to reach bidders than sort of having this wide range of particularly with narrow, like this metal collection that we just sold. Had that been in a big auction, it probably loses a little bit of its shine. And as we look, like the difference is quite remarkable, and it has to do with us having a larger audience of those specific items converging into that sale, and taking part of it, and bidding the lots up. So that's it seems for a wide range of lots that we handle for our consigners, that venue is going to be the most appropriate for certain things. For Brazil, for example, we used, as you mentioned before, consigners now are preferring to put their consignments specifically into those showcase sales rather than putting into the Central States event, or even other events that we have are the signature events, because there's a convergence of the audience to that specific sale. Across the board, there's interest. Like if you're watching that, you're probably interested in most, if not all, of the lots.
Right.
You have some kind of, you're paying attention for the results for your own collection. You also, it's great for the audience, I think. So
yeah, and I think it gets back to something I said earlier, where in 2022 we sold 53,000 lots, and so I don't want to say that's a lot of noise, but if you're a collector, you're not interested in every single lot, right?
For sure.
It's something that we need to work towards, to present the material that you're interested in a sort of digestible format, rather than make the collector sift through everything. The way it used to be at Heritage, 10 years ago or so, was we had 3 auctions a year, right?
Correct.
January, A&A, and Long Beach, I think.
It varied some years
Yeah.
to CICF, but essentially we had 3 sales.
3 sales a year, and everything was in those 3 sales.
Thousands of lots, big thick books.
Right, and we didn't even separate it out between like platinum, signature, final session. I think there was signature and final session at the time.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so, that sort of format, which is still prevalent in the market today, I think it makes the collector do a lot of work. Like it sort of expects the collector to be
the
patient.
Commitment has to be fairly large from the collector size to go through 7,000 lots, in a book, versus, the tools that we give them today. Our sales are generally much smaller in the number of lots these days. Even our signature auctions are now ranging in the 1,500 to 1,800 to 2,000 lots. That's about a third of what they were 10 years ago. And then we have these showcases that are, 200 to 300 lots, which is a single session, maybe 2 to 3 hours in length. So very focused and narrow, which I guess for the audience works significantly
makes
better.
it much easier to do business and to collect when the material you're interested in isn't spread out over a bunch of different sales or buried in a 6,000 lot auction. It's just all presented right then and there. I actually sent Tommy you another link just to sort of drive home that point that these showcase auctions can help realize higher prices. So in that Abbey Gate, there was another medal I found. There's George V coronation medal that realized $6,600 in a 64. So can you go to the other link that I sent you for this? Yeah, this was a 64, same medal that sold in the January signature for $4,400. And so I think, just further drives home the point that these showcase auctions, presenting thematic material to clients, is ultimately better for the collectors to get the material that they want to see, and for the consigners if it ultimately means higher prices. And so we're going to continue to lean in that direction as we continue to sort of grow and handle more material and think of new ways to service our clients. We're going to just add more and more of these to the calendar, I think.
Yeah, which makes an important point that, everybody should always be checking on our website,
Yeah.
ha.com. Best on a daily basis, or you can set up want lists and keywords to be notified whenever something that you might be interested in is coming up. But it's important to be visiting the website frequently, because we're adding these sales on a constant basis. We have essentially, 3, sometimes 4 sales closing every week. These showcase sales are very interesting, and it's also a good way to sort of watch the market and see how things are going, and watch the action happening in the sales.
Right now we have auctions of just world and ancient coins closing at least 3 nights a week. In the select auctions, Wednesday is ancient coins, Thursday is world coins, and then the showcase auctions close Sunday night. And then sometimes when we have 2 showcase auctions a week, the second one will close on Monday night.
Right.
And it's sort of always new content to look at. And it's exciting for us because, I'm only patient to a certain degree, and I don't like waiting, 3 or 4 months to the next signature auction to sort of see how things are doing, get feedback on what's strong, what's not, and all of that. When there's, new results, relevant information to look at every week, multiple times, it's great for, us and for clients who, want to always have something new to look to add to their collection.
Excellent. So, Tommy, if there's no questions for us, my email, if anybody has any questions for me or want to comment about any auction or wants to consign coins to upcoming auction, is Cris B, no H, CRISB @ha.com. It's there on the screen. And then Sam.
Yeah, mine is Sam S, SAMS @ha.com. You're always welcome to reach out. And we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So thanks for your time, and we'll see you at the next one.